Chapter 3. It was a dark, stormy night. Listener looked up at the skeleton in front of her. He was tall. Taller than her, by a lot. Even though his shoulders were hunched, his eye sockets seemed small for his skull, a repeating, layered spider web of cracks centering at his nasal ridge. He looked nervously between her and his brother. His nervousness and hand twisting made sense when it looked like someone had beat the hell out of his face, let it heal, and repeated enough times that his face had permanently changed shape. Anger filled her heart. No one deserved that. His immediate nervousness at a new person showed that the fights he'd gotten into had most likely been forced upon him, and a quick glance over his radius and U-line showing his worst, healed defensive scars, showed that he hadn't been a willing participant. Listener shot an evaluating glare at Sans from the corner of her eye. No. He was too genuinely proud and loving of his brother when he'd been talking about him a moment ago. He was also sporting a gaping head wound, directing that somebody had probably been beating them both. That meant someone else. Her eyes moved over the darkened room behind the tall skeleton, looking for signs of another presence as her jaw tightened. Her eyes were drawn back to... Sans had said his brother's name was Papyrus, right? At his hands rubbing over each other, and the sound of fabric rubbing over fabric brought her back to the people in front of her. His long, uneven teeth, stained from something unknown, shifted in a not at all uncomfortable seeming way.
Sans?
He questioned. The nervousness on him made her heart ache. What was making him... Oh. Oops. Her mama bear was showing. Previous career field hazard. Being an advocate for people who couldn't do it for themselves made you protective. Overprotective sometimes. Listener closed her eyes for a second, taking a breath and pushing everything Mama Bear to the back of her mind, opening them and letting the current moment fill her senses. One thing at a time. Her eyes trailed back up to his... where, well, he squinted at her with his hunched position. A joyful feeling bobbled up inside of her, and she couldn't hold back the excited squeal. Tall! Her hands grasped in front of her so they didn't go to him. You're so tall! She was exclaiming it like he'd done something amazing. The two skeletons froze. She didn't sound afraid. No one was moving, no attacks, and while her outbursts had been genuine, it kept her alive and them off kilter. Maybe she could use this to her advantage. Go full excitement mode and overwhelm them, then quickly leave. She'd seen it work before at work, and she'd look stupid, but she'd be alive. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Obviously, you're tall. I didn't mean to state the obvious. Just, I'm so tall. I don't usually meet anyone taller than me, let alone so much taller than me. She rushed, overfilling their senses. I'm a dork, I'm sorry, but I'm just so excited to see someone taller than me. Oh my god, can I have a hug? The tall, skittish skeleton looked at her wiggling, grabbing fingers before opening his arms and staring at his brother in shock as she wrapped her arms around his lower ribs.
I'm glad it seems you've made a new friend, Sans, Papyrus said hesitantly. But we don't have anything to feed you, human.
Wasn't gonna.
Sans started mumbling, but was cut off by the stupid human's too excited voice. That's okay, I've got some, I'll share. The Sans axe fell back against the wall with a thunk, forgotten in the overwhelming situation. He couldn't think. His brain had stopped and was resetting, slow like the laughable, outdated computers they'd had underground, still running on 17-inch floppy disks. My name is Listener, by the way. His brother was looking at him. He knew he was.
That's very thoughtful of you, human. Sans? Are you okay?
Why was his brother always so loud? The anger made him want to snap at him.
Sans?
That was better.
Sans. Your eye.
Sans looked up to his brother, realizing that his hand was tugging on his nearly dead socket. His eye light darted around, needing to find the human. Dinner. He wouldn't let her slip through his fingers and let his brother go hungry. She was standing at Pap's side, watching him with concern on her face. Concern for him. Fuck. Damn it! Why did she have to be concerned about him? He knew she knew he was planning on making her dinner, killing her, cooking her, and feeding her to his brother. What right did she have to be concerned about him? Sans pushed the anger filling him back with another tug at his socket before letting it go, giving her a hateful glare.
And what is it you want for it?
He demanded. For what? She asked.
For the food.
She wanted something. You never get something for nothing. Nothing. She glanced between him and his brother in confusion. Just sharing a meal among new friends. Nothing, his non-existent ass. Just a meal among friends. His scrambled, unstable brain. She was paying them off for her life. Fuck her. No, don't fuck her. She was food. And you don't fuck food. His expression turned darker, his hands reaching behind him for his axe. Her eyes flared in fear. She stank of fear. Prey smelled like fear. She was prey.
Sans!
Papyrus called to him nervously as he edged himself between him and his prey.
Sans, we don't do that anymore. We don't have to. We can go ask the others.
No.
Sans cut off his brother. Papyrus knew how stubborn his brother was about asking for help.
Well, I didn't fully check. I could look in my trash to the west.
He was whispering, trying to keep